I have an extremely alarming story for you guys today. And before we get going, I want to go ahead and ask all of you to share this story because people need to know what is going on here with BLM and the Chinese Communist Party. So we have here, this is from a investigation done by the Daily Signal by Mike Gonzalez at the Daily Signal. So it says this BLM co-founder and pro-communist China group are partnering up. Here's why. Now, the headline is a little misleading because the way they're talking about it is as if this hasn't happened yet or that it's just happening. But no, this has been happening for a while, where a lot of these riots in the streets, the Black Lives Matter protests, or Black Lives Matter riots as they really are being funded in part by the Chinese Communist Party, here to tear apart America. So let's start here. Imagine that far-right demonstrators were laying siege to American cities for months, led by activists explicitly calling for an ethno-state, and that one of their groups was funded by an outfit involved with Vladimir Putin's Russia. It would be the lead news every day, and there would be congressional hearings, right? Absolutely, there would be. In fact, we have had that made-up story happen, where they talk about far-right extremists all over, Nazis all over, that Donald Trump is working with Putin. It's an absolute lie. And the reason that they have been casting this story about Trump and people on the right, Trump supporters, as being neo-Nazis in league with Putin is to hide the fact that they are communists in league with China. In fact, Donald Trump seems to be the only person keeping the American dream and the American ideal alive. And this really isn't even a partisan issue. We have been sold out to China by representatives, senators, presidents, both left and right, Republican and Democrat, for years now. Our institutions have decayed to the point where there's no one at the helm, where no one at the helm has any regard for American traditions, American beliefs, American values. All of our institutions are on board with this leftward lurch that has been priming America for a Marxist takeover. It has been a slow creep to be finalized, finished off with a revolution. Corporate America, they favor this communist global system because it expands their markets, and a one world allows them to market singularly to that market. You know, if you have a one world where they can advertise their products to, they have open markets all over the world. They don't have to change their messaging for different regions. Saves them money. It expands their income. It's a win-win for them. Corporate America no longer has any allegiance to America. And this is why I believe in capitalism, of course. Capitalism is great. Corporatism, first of all, let me continue that thought. Capitalism is what allows you to rise up through the system, or, you know, economically speaking. It allows the upward mobility economically of American citizens. But when all of a sudden you infuse the technology that allows for a globalist system and it's applied on a global scale as opposed to a national scale, where nobody has any interests in the nations that gave them the ability to found their countries or that found their companies, then it all goes to pot. And our politicians, they favor the globalism because it expands their power reach as well, and their ability to work more lucrative backroom deals, you know, these backroom handshake deals with these lobbyists of the corporations. So we're in this really weird time now where the right has always hailed capitalism and the ability, you know, and we do still hail capitalism, but we somehow missed the shift from capitalism to corporatism. And those are two very different systems. It's hard to put a finger on exactly where it is. It's almost like that horseshoe theory, where if you go too far, where you allow all of these trade partnerships, you know, like we were going to have with the TPP, where they can offshore all of our jobs to countries that will implement slave labor in order to bring their products to market at lower costs. Well, all of a sudden, that isn't in the spirit of America. Conservatism should never be just about making money. It has to be about what you do with that money. That is why it is necessary for a virtuous and moral people to be able to self-govern themselves. But through the corruption of corporatism, corporatism is a corrupt, bastardized version of capitalism. That should never be protected by conservatives because it undermines all of the pro-America conservative practices and ideals that we believe in, that we preach. We have to figure out how to get it right. And I think Donald Trump actually does it in a very good way. It's a populist capitalism. It's a nationalist populist capitalism where he's going to charge companies, adding tariffs to companies who offshore jobs, who import their products, offshore their manufacturing. It's pro-capitalism. It's pro the ability to build your company, but not at the cost of America. Not when you're selling off America for parts and you're strip mining our economy. That's not capitalism. So, yeah, I mean, it feels like at this point that Donald Trump is about all we have left. That and kind of a new wave of Republicans, our Josh Hawleys and Ted Cruz's and the younger, more invigorated under Trump Republicans. But the establishment Republicans, they're just as bad as the establishment Democrats, and that's why they hate Trump so much. That's why we have to get Trump in office for 4 more years, or it is game over for America. It really is. It really is. Anyways, let's continue with this story here. He goes, well, that scenario described above is happening, though not with Russia or the far right, but with China and the leftist disturbances upending America and seeking to transform it. And that is the goal, to transform America. Yet there has not been a peep from the media or Congress about China's support of the riots. Yes, because they are all in on the take. They are all in on the game. This establishment, pro-globalist approach. Because all of these people, they're probably thinking, oh, well, if we're a globalist, well, all of a sudden, or I'm talking about the media here, these media figures, they probably figure, oh, well, under a globalist system, I'm not just going to be reaching America, I'm going to be famous worldwide. I'm going to be reporting the news worldwide. And of course, the news just being the propaganda mouthpiece for the party. But they got no problem with that because they get to go to the cocktail parties and they get to go to the fancy dinners and they get to be part of the in crowd. They're selling us out. So you go to the website for Black Futures Lab, a venture of Black Lives Matter founder Alicia Garza, and click the donate button. It will ask you to send your money to an obscure organization, the Chinese Progressive Association, explaining that the Black Futures Lab is a fiscally sponsored project of the Chinese Progressive Association, which has very direct ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Black Lives Matter is in league with the Chinese Communist Party. This is China trying to weaken America, trying to tear us apart at the seams. And it's been going on for a long, long time. So let's look at the history of the Chinese Progressive Association. The CPA was founded in San Francisco, but of course it was. In 1972, during the heady days of the Marxist-oriented Asian American movement, and today it also has a very active chapter in Boston. From its start, it has been a promoter of the People's Republic of China. According to an authoritative 2009 Stanford University paper tracing its early days to the present, which can be found on Marxist.org, the CPA is a leftist pro-People's Republic of China organization. Promoting awareness of mainland China's revolutionary thought and workers' rights, and dedicated to self-determination, community control, and serving the people. Really, China's revolutionary thought on workers' rights. Do you know the living condition of Chinese workers? It is a slave system. It's flabbergasting how the left gets away with all of their projecting. Everything that they say they are the opposite of. Everything that they say their opposition is exactly the opposite. It is they are an absolute inversion built on lies, deceit, and subversion. None of it is real. It is meeting a communist is like meeting a person who's just been flipped inside out. They're a complete inversion of anything human. To this day, the CPA continues to be a partner of the PRC in the United States. 3 years ago, the Boston chapter teamed up with China's Consulate General in New York to offer Chinese nationals the opportunity to renew their passports, getting praise from China's official mouthpiece, China Daily. Why are we allowing this in America? And what are we going to have to do to put an end to this? I got a feeling it's either going to be pick up arms and use them or roll over and die. Because that is what it is going to be. Do you think once the revolution happens here, do you really think that America and all of its pro-American patriots are going to be treated with anything less than gulags and death? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Last year, the CPA sponsored the raising of the PRC's flag for the first time over Boston City Hall to honor the takeover of China by the Chinese Communist Party, just as the Sanford paper says has been its practice from the beginning, but this time drawing protesters. I'm gonna blow a gasket here. I don't think I heard about this. Last year, Boston raising the Chinese flag to honor the takeover of China by the Communist Party, which has caused hundreds of millions, at least 80 million deaths, likely well over 100 million deaths, and are today responsible for concentration camps, for human organ harvesting, for the enslavement of billions of people. They are the worst human rights abusers in the history of the world. And we've got Boston City Hall raising a flag, praising the takeover of the system that implemented it all. Oh, all right. Consul General Sun Guojing was on hand to say the common interests are far more important than the differences between the U.S. and China. The fact that we have any common interest with China should be alarming. Imagine if we talked about the common interests with the USSR in the 1980s. Imagine how well that would have gone over. But we have been desensitized to accept this. Here's the thing. A place like America, a land of freedom and opportunity, of self-governance, it cannot coexist with an imperial communist system. It cannot. And, this is why the left, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, you always hear them talking about white colonization, white imperialism. Do you think they actually have a problem with colonization and imperialism? No. Do you think it has anything to do with whiteness or European colonization or imperialism? No. It has to do with the ideas and the principles of freedom and liberty. That is what they don't want to spread. That is their true ire with European or white colonialism, is that it spread the ideas of liberty and freedom. And they want to be just as imperialistic, just as colonial, but they want to do it to oppress everybody under the boot of communism. It's the same. It's the exact same as defund the police and their whole opposition to the border wall. They talk about how they want to have no police, how police is a racist, oppressive system, how the border wall is racist and oppressive, and that we need to tear it all down. Yet what the fuck happened when all of these communists took over Chaz? Almost immediately, they put up their own border and then they implemented their own police system. They don't have any problem with these systems. They just want to have communist control over it. CPA co-founder Lydia Lowe. That does not sound like a Chinese person. CPA co-founder Lydia Lowe also spoke at the event, reminding her audience that McCarthyism is behind us and the Cold War is behind us. It should not be. We need a new era of McCarthyism we need McCarthyism on hyperdrive. We need to weed out all of these Marxists, and we need to expel them from the country. We cannot let this ideology continue to take root here in America. And I know that sounds authoritarian. But you know what? Liberty does not grant people the liberty to trample other people's liberty. And if your ideas are all about that, I know that I can't even say that, because of course then you can invert that and say, well, you're trampling on the liberty of the communists. I get it. It's a catch-22. But at some point, we got to realize, we got to be able to defend the principles of liberty. We got to be able to defend against it. Maybe expelling everybody is not the right solution. I don't know. I don't know what the right solution is. But something's got to be done. We have to have, what really needs to be done is we need to have very immediate safeguards against unconstitutional practices by our state and local and federal governments. If you're a lawmaker and you propose, say, common sense gun control, well, that is against the Second Amendment, and you should no longer have any place in our government. We need to immediately bar people from government. Maybe that's the solution, is barring people from government and government-funded institutions who seek to undermine the Constitution, who break their oaths. They have already taken an oath to defend the Constitution, and then they go and they defy that oath. They break that oath daily with no consequences. That's the right solution right there. It's not expelling communists from the country. It is making sure that people who break their oaths face the consequences of it. If you don't take an oath, sure, fine, say whatever you want. But when it comes time to fund college, and these colleges are promoting Marxist ideas, well, you either fund them you either break your oath by funding these Marxist ideas, or you tell them no, not in American schools. We need to punish people who break their oaths. There was a time when that was the way, where there was great dishonor in breaking an oath. Now it's just par for the course. The oath means nothing. All right, so in an essay she authored with other people on the Marxist revolutionary site Left Roots last year, Lowe sounded as though she wanted to start another Cold War. Well, it's already happened, and it's on the verge of becoming a hot war. Writing that she wanted Asians to play a role in creating a revolutionary strategy that would achieve a fundamentally different society. A fundamentally different society. That sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Kind of harkens back to maybe 2008, when a certain presidential candidate was talking about fundamentally transforming America. Yes, I am talking about Barack Obama. And how he taught, we should have known right then and there, and most of us did. In fact, that was the point when I actually became politically aware. When I actually started to I was always like politically minded, but I wasn't politically educated. And that was the time in 2008 when I heard Barack Obama, when I heard about him being a socialist and how he wanted to fundamentally transform America. That was when I kind of started to say, you know what, I should know what's going on here. I should know what socialism really is. Because you don't fundamentally transform something that you love and revere. I mean, imagine You meet a woman, you fall in love with her, you get married, and on your wedding day, you smile and you look into her eyes and tell her that you can't wait to fundamentally transform her. How's that going to go over? You simply don't fundamentally transform something you love, which is why I have always believed, and I believe that to this day, Barack Obama is and always was a communist. We've heard, we have so many people that say, that talk back about the time when we were all raising the flags, or the red flags, about he's a socialist, he's this and that. And they look back at his campaign, or his administration, his 8 years, and they say, no, he wasn't a socialist. I mean, look at how he governed. Yet he governed on the surface like he wasn't a socialist, or like he wasn't a communist, that he wasn't a Marxist. But Marxism is all about subversion. They never let you see it on the surface. It's all what happens underneath. But we know about his gravitation towards Marxism when he was in college. We know that he stayed in touch with Harvard professor Derek Bell, who was the founder of the Marxist-infused critical race theory. How he continued while he was teaching at Chicago Law School. How he continued to teach Bell's and assign Bell's writings as reading assignments for the students. We know that he frequented the church of radical Jeremiah Wright, who, when 9/11 happened, said that it was America's chickens coming home to roost. We know that he announced his damn political career from the living room of Bill Ayers, convicted Weather Underground communist terrorist from the 1970s. Barack, all the signs were there. And there were some of us that were telling everybody, no, this guy is a socialist, which is a communist. He's a Marxist. But we were too blinded and enamored by all the lights they put on him. And, with Barack Obama as well, the dude was basically a Manchurian candidate. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? I think that Barack Obama was basically a CIA plant in the White House. I mean, there was nothing organic about his rise. He was a Marxist professor, community organizer. Next thing you know, he serves one term as a senator, gets the keynote speech at the 2004 DNC, and then the very next election cycle, he's president. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. He was chosen to help push this whole thing. And it's no coincidence that all of this intersectionality really took root in the culture under Barack Obama, because he fanned the flames of it. It's all of the, he was the one who started all of the diversity and inclusion programs in federal government. He didn't have to be a communist on the surface. You implement these Marxist, these quietly Marxist practices, and the mentality spreads and does the job from there. It's subversion. I mean, yeah, Barack Obama had a very, very large role to play in all of this. So, anyways, let's go ahead and continue with this story. I'm getting so worked up over this. And the CPA drew praise from China's mouthpiece, China Daily, just a few weeks ago for taking part in the Black Lives Matter demonstrations in San Francisco. China loves this. I mean, we know that the communists have tried to use race as their means to pick apart America as early as 1928. Just go read Color, Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson, who was a black communist, I believe in the 30s and 40s, and rose all the way up the ranks until he realized that black people were just a tool. They were useful idiots for the communists. That's how the communists viewed them, as useful idiots. Of course, we know Black Lives Matter opposes capitalism. We do not have to rehash that. But let's talk about Garza here. So Garza sits atop a worldwide revolutionary worldwide revolutionary empire, starting with the Black Lives Matter global network she founded, which now has 15 chapters in the US and several more all over Canada, Australia, and Europe. As Foreign Affairs wrote in its September-October issue, today BLM has a global network of dozens of chapters. The number will likely grow exponentially in coming years. I really, really hope not. And so Garza is also behind the Movement for Black Lives with its 50 domestic organizations. In July, she said, "We helped to pull together an ecosystem that was much broader than the organization that we founded." So you've got the organization, which is the body, and then this movement and the ecosystem, which is supposed to spread. It's trying to make the whole thing autonomous, so that it doesn't need the continued organizational drive. I mean, these are evil geniuses. And you know what? Let's take a look at Alicia Garza, because let's just take a look at who this woman is. First of all, I can't read what's tattooed on her chest. I would like to be able to read what that says. Of course I can't. But just look into those eyes. There are certain people that you can just look at and just tell there is a deep, deep evil in them. This is one of those people. There is such a darkness and soullessness behind that smile. It's almost haunting. Maybe I'm going over the top there. I don't know. But I just looked at that picture of her, and I was creeped out. Completely creeped out. So let's see. We helped also to pull together an ecosystem that is much broader than the organization that we founded, and that ecosystem is called Movement for Black Lives, and it's taking the world by storm. Movement for Black Lives is unabashedly anti-capitalist, saying on its website, "We are anti-capitalist. We believe and understand that black people will never achieve liberation under the current global racialized capitalist system." Capitalism is not racialized. Capitalism sees one color, and that's green. That's green. You know, what Garza doesn't understand is that she is a pawn of people far, far more powerful than her, with much bigger, sinister plans. She thinks that she's on that upper echelon, that she's on that tier with them. But what we know from history, the history of communism, is that with all of these revolutionaries, they're the ones who amass the movements, overthrow and topple the existing power structures, and then all of a sudden, when they turn around to enter that office themselves, that the administrative office where they will be in charge, they turn around, all of a sudden they see it closed, and they turn back around, and there's the new power structure sitting there with guns aimed at them, and they are shot dead. They are fools to think that they are going to have any power, especially when you're teaming up with the Chinese as black people, as Black Lives Matter. The Chinese are racist as fuck. In fact, there's no region in the world, likely no region in the world, more racist than Asia in general. So if they think that the Chinese Communist Party is going to be on their side once all of this happens, no. Black people are going to be oppressed like never before. Unlike in the capitalist system, where, you see black people are doing pretty damn well. We see black people all the time. They rising up, creating tons of jobs, running companies, buying houses, owning nice cars. I mean, it's absolutely flabbergasting that anybody buys into this rhetoric when all you have to do is look around and see that people of any race here in America can do just fine. Just fine. So let's see. Movement for Black Lives is unabashedly... Okay, I just read that. So is Garza, and she means to use her international platform to end world capitalism. In 2015, she told an important gathering of Marxists, "It is not possible for a world to emerge where Black Lives matter if it's under capitalism, and it's not possible to abolish capitalism without a struggle against national oppression." Gobbledygook. As Leon Trotsky said, The revolution is always verbose. Always verbose. But it's just a bunch of nonsense. Absolute nonsense. There, she portrayed BLM as an offshoot of the Black Liberation Movement, the Marxist Pan-African movement. I think the Pan-Africanist movement. She goes, BLM, she said coyly. And there you have it. Black Lives Matter is nothing but a branding tool for the Black Liberation Movement, which is a Marxist communist ideology. They said, how can we keep BLM? How can we keep this BLM thing, but then sell it to America? Because America knows that whenever you hear like a liberation movement, they know that's communist. Everybody knows that's communist when you hear it. We've heard it too many times before. How can we keep this BLM and rebrand it so that Black Lives Matter? Well, you're going to sound like a racist asshole if you oppose Black Lives Matter, right? Evil genius. Can't say it's stupid. You can't say it's stupid, but you damn sure can say it's evil. So you have the role here of the Black Futures Lab. 2 years ago, Garza created the Black Futures Lab, the organization that the Chinese Progressive Association funds, as yet another asset in the vast Garza empire. By the looks of it, it acts as sort of a lobbying arm of this empire. You know, we always hear of Alicia Garza as kind of being like second fiddle to Patrisse Cullors and some of these others, but it sounds like Garza is really the one masterminding everything here. Alicia Garza. Looks like she is the true enemy here. Today we are launching Black Futures Lab as a way to mobilize around our needs, hopes, and dreams, Garza told Color Lines in an emailed statement. For too long, people have spoken for us and perpetuated false representations of the issues that drive our votes. Yes, that is true. For too long, we have had the Democrats and the left perpetuating false representations of the issues that surround black people and black culture. We're all told, and Garza is one of the people doing that. Garza is a doubling down of those false representations. You know, we're called racist if we talk about single motherhood in the black community, and we talk about how welfare, and you know, how after the Great Society, which is a communist name if I've ever heard one, from Lyndon B. Johnson, how they sent welfare officers to financially incentivize black women to kick the fathers out of the home, and how all of a sudden over the course of 2 generations, you go from one of the lowest single motherhood rates in the black community at around 20% to nearly 3/4 fatherless homes. All it took was 2 generations. And how black culture was absolutely sabotaged with the likes of gangster rap and, you know, starting with NWA and all of that stuff. Yes, black people have been put upon in this country, and they have after the civil rights era. But it has been primarily through sabotage of culture and the desecration of the family structure. You solve those 2 problems, you're going to solve all of the black community's problems. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So, as I wrote in City Journal last month, the BLM organizations have been the nerve center for this year's protests. Yeah, we all know that. They have been laying the groundwork for years, carefully cultivating a network of groups that could organize protests when the moment came and amplify the message through social media. Anybody else notice how quickly the George Floyd protests turned to riots and how quickly everything got organized? We saw all the placing of the bricks out on the streets for people to throw and to create more damage. How all of this was just organized at the drop of a hat. I was saying it back then. None of this was organic. All of this was by design and was pre-planned and had been planned for a long, long time. They were just waiting for the starter gun. And then it was off to the races. And it's been off to the races ever since. Communist China has put its vast propaganda apparatus to work in support of the mayhem that has wreaked havoc in American cities this year. China is, after all, a rival of the United States and would see the weakening of the U.S. society and the country in general as advantageous. Yeah, and Joe Biden is on record saying that China is not our competitor. Yes, they are. Except for Joe Biden, who sees them as a business partner, because he is one of the people who has sold us out. The involvement of the outfit is closely associated with the Chinese government, and the funding of one of Garza's ventures is something else entirely, however. Oh, the involvement of the Chinese government is funding this is something entirely else. Yeah. This is dark times, guys. I'm not sure how we're going to get out of this without almost a second American Revolution. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Please go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You got to share this video. Even if you don't like me, you got to share this video. People have to know that the Chinese government is behind a lot of this Black Lives Matter activity, and that the organizers of Black Lives Matter are working in tandem with the Chinese Communist Party. Anyways, guys, also don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Parler at Ram Thorburn. And also, if you would like to contribute to the channel, there are links to my Subscribestar, Patreon, and PayPal down in the description below. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and hope you have a wonderful day.